Hey, Andre.
Hi, Jack.
How are you doing, my friend?
I'm doing very well. How are you?
I'm good. Okay. Today we're going to learn something called the Idea Bank, and it's got
Okay.
more students through their speaking tests than anything else I can show you. It's really easy, and it just takes about 5 or 10 minutes, okay?
Okay, that
All
works.
right. So the first question I've got for you is when we get our IELTS task 2, it'll always say you should say below the question. So how
Mhm.
important are these questions? Do you have to answer them?
Let me have a look. Yeah, I think they are very important. Yeah.
No. We do not
No.
need to talk about these. There is no task achievement on the speaking. So we can
Okay.
quite safely ignore them completely. We have to talk about, in this instant, a person who enjoys cooking for others, but we don't need to mention any of these things.
But why would they show these questions in the slide on the question then?
To provide students who don't have much imagination an opportunity to talk about something. The
I see.
majority of
Okay.
students won't know the question that's coming up. So
hmm
this allows them to think about what can I talk about? Does that make
I see.
sense?
Yeah, totally. Okay, that makes sense.
Okay, great. Now, there's two things that all the IELTS students need to improve. The first is fluency and coherence. The most
Okay.
important thing here is that you're able to speak coherently with fully developed sentences, linking everything together nicely. You have to
hmm
be able to talk at length about whatever topic comes up. And a lot of students find that very difficult. I mean, I would if you asked me to talk about something for 2 minutes, especially if it's a subject I have very little interest in.
Makes sense.
The next thing we have is lexical resource. Now, this means basically how many words do you know? Okay. And more
hmm
importantly, are you using idiomatic language naturally? So it's not just good enough to say, I don't like football. It's much
hmm
more powerful to say, I can't stand football. You have the opportunity to put stress in words. And this idea bank is going to teach you how to do that.
All right.
Now, I've been teaching IELTS for longer than most of my students have been alive. And I've learned a very simple way to do it. Okay.
Okay. Show
All
me.
right. You'll get it. Okay. What I want you to do is to answer these questions in 1 or 2 words. We're going to play a game. Now, I'm going to cheat. I'm going to win, I'm afraid. What I'm going to ask you is these words, these questions, and then I want you
Okay.
to give me just 1 or 2 word answers. I'm then going to answer the questions. Now, my answers will be longer. They're going to be IELTS length. I don't want you to worry about the length of the question. I want you to listen to what each of my answers is. Does that make sense?
I'll try. Yeah,
Okay,
that makes sense. Yeah.
so let's start with the beginning. What's your
hmm
favorite book?
Clean Code by Robert Martin.
Okay, thank you. What's your favorite movie?
Interstellar.
All right. What's your favorite food?
Ukrainian borscht.
Okay. What's your favorite restaurant?
Uh, Kartoffel restaurant in Trier, Germany.
Okay. Where's the best place to go on a date?
To park, maybe?
Okay. And the final question, what's your favorite sport?
Let it be table tennis.
Table tennis, ping pong. Okay, so I'm going to give you 0 points. Now, you didn't say anything wrong. Everything was correct, and I've told you to give me 1 or 2 words. So
Yeah.
it's nothing to do with the length of your answers.
Okay.
What you need to do is you need to create a bank of answers, something that you can just drop into whenever you need it. Okay.
All
So I'd
right.
like you to ask me the same questions and listen carefully to my replies.
Right. Okay. So Jack, what is your favorite book?
I'm a big fan of The Shawshank Redemption by Stephen King, which tells the story of a man's journey through prison.
Right. And what is your favorite movie?
I'm a big fan of The Shawshank Redemption by Stephen King, which tells the story of a man's journey through prison.
So it's the same thing for the two
Exactly the
questions.
same.
For two questions. Okay. And what is your favorite food?
I'm a real foodie. I adore Italian cuisine. My favorite dish is called lasagna. That's layers of pasta cooked with garlic and herbs.
I see where you're driving at. I can predict your answer for the next question. What is your favorite restaurant?
Very clever. I'm a real foodie. I adore Italian cuisine. My local Italian serves the world's greatest lasagna. That's layers of pasta cooked with garlic and herbs.
Don't tell me that you're going to give me this answer for the best place to go on a date.
Yeah. I'm a real foodie. I adore Italian cuisine. I take my girlfriend to our local Italian. They serve the
I,
world's greatest lasagna. That's layers of pasta cooked with garlic and herbs.
I think it's a kind of a cheating, but okay. And what is your favorite sport?
I don't like sport, I'm afraid, Andre. I never have. If I have any spare time, I like to cook. I'm a real foodie. I adore Italian cuisine. My favorite dish is called lasagna, and that's what I'm learning to make at the moment. It's layers of pasta cooked with garlic and herbs.
Probably for the book, you should have said a book of recipes for lasagna.
Ah, but only if they made a favorite movie of the same thing.
All
So,
right.
but it's basically, did you ever play with these things when you were a young boy, these Lego blocks?
Sure, I still have plenty of them. My children play.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what you end up with is you end up with a series of little blocks that you build up to create something, yeah?
Okay.
And what we're going to do is we're going to use this technique to pass our IELTS. So,
Hmm.
for example, food, okay?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I'm a really traditional guy, but I love pizza. Ever since I was a young boy, I learned how to cook it.
Mm-hmm.
I was always under my mum's feet. Now, anything they ask you about food, you're going to use the same answer. Tell me about a
Mm-hmm.
local business that's very good. Not too far away from me, they opened up a new pizzeria.
Mm-hmm.
Since I was a
Mm-hmm.
young boy, I've loved pizza. I was always under my mum's feet when she was cooking it. Now I'm an adult, I try to make my own. I knead the dough and then I spin it around like you see in the movies. Flour goes everywhere. It always gets on my wife's nerves.
So it looks like no matter what topic they give us on the exam, we can kind of smoothly change the topic to the subject we know how to talk about.
Yeah, exactly. So let's say
And
I asked you about a noisy place that you've been to.
a noisy place, okay?
So where would you say?
Ah, public transports, maybe.
Okay.
Yeah,
And what I would
there-
say is about 6 months ago, they opened up a new pizzeria that's not too far away from where I live. If you go
indeed.
in there on a Friday, it's packed. Everybody's talking and on their mobile phones. I'm a really, really keen guy when it comes to pizza. And I'm going to talk about a pizza restaurant.
I see. Okay,
Okay.
okay.
So, book and movie. Choose a book that's been made into a movie. So, Harry Potter, The Godfather, anything similar than that. But
Mm-hmm.
anything they ask you about books, movies, its answer is always the same. So, tell me about a book that you love. Harry Potter. Tell me about a book you didn't enjoy. Harry Potter. Talk to me about a person that you'd like to meet, a celebrity. Harry Potter's creator, J.K. Rowling. Music. Come up with something about music, okay?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But don't make it a band from your country. Make it a band that sings in English, a British American band, because it's a
Mm-hmm.
lot easier to talk about a English band in English than it would be a French band.
Okay.
Come
What
up with, go on.
I'm just curious why would the examinator not interested hearing a story about some foreigner band?
Well, for a start, the examiner doesn't care what music you're into. If he asks you about your favorite meal and your favorite book, he's not going to take you out to dinner and then give you a first edition copy of Harry Potter. All he's testing is your English skills.
Okay.
Okay. But if you were to try to say, for example, talk about a restaurant in your own country,
Uh-huh.
sometimes it can be, oh, it's I don't know how to translate it into English.
All right.
And then turning around to the examiner and saying, hello, Mr. Examiner, who's giving me an English test. I'm going to now tell you that I don't know the words to say to translate this into English. Doesn't give the best look.
Indeed.
Okay.
Yeah.
Same
Okay.
thing with music, especially with music, because some of the song titles don't make sense to me in English. But then again, I'm old. Okay. Room.
Right.
think about a favorite room. Okay, so your bedroom, your kitchen, but make it always the same. Think about what you can see from the window. What does the room look like? What can you smell? So you could say, for example, my favorite room is my bedroom. Okay.
Or a bathroom.
Okay. Or a bathroom. What can you smell? So you could say, for example, in my bathroom, my wife always puts scented candles on in there. They really get on my nerves. Every time I go in there, I come out and I'm smelling like I'm covered in perfume. So what can you see from the window? Okay, if you open up the bathroom windows, it overlooks a garden. There's a busy road the other side. It's really annoying because every day we get heavy traffic coming in. So when we're trying to sleep, it really gets on our nerves. Understand?
Yeah, makes sense. Okay.
Okay. Make your best friend your wife. If they ask about a relative, talk about your wife. If they ask about a friend, talk about your wife. So make sure that your best friend is your brother, your sister, your wife, your uncle. Hobby. Make your hobby and sport and activity all the same thing. So I'm a big fan of ping pong. Tell me
Right.
about a sport you don't like, ping pong. Tell me
Mm-hmm.
about how you relax. I play ping pong. If they
And
ask about a holiday, tell them about the
same thing.
holiday you've been on. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
exactly the same. So if, for example, you said that you took your wife on honeymoon to Cuba, if they ask about a holiday you'd like to go on, talk about your trip to Cuba.
Or you can say that you cook your favorite food or read your favorite book,
You've
watch your
got it.
favorite movie. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Okay.
about 3 years ago, I took my wife on honeymoon to Italy.
Yeah.
Okay. Ever since I was a young guy, I've been obsessed with pizza. I'm trying to learn how to make my own. And now we use the food one from the
Okay.
idea. Okay. You
I,
could say, for example, that when you went into the hotel, they were playing the same music that you danced to at your wedding day. Okay. You can talk about the room in the
mhm,
hotel. Okay.
yeah.
You can talk about how when you opened the windows, it overlooked a beautiful garden. You could smell the flowers coming in. But the big problem was there was a busy road at the bottom. Do you see where we're going?
Yeah. The whole idea that we can smoothly change the topic of the
That's
original
it.
question, it's really striking me. But okay, yeah,
Okay. So we
that
can take
works.
advantage of the fact that we don't need to say those you should say parts under the question.
Hmm.
Okay. So the skill is basically, as it says here, it's adapting the question to suit the answers that you've created in your mind.
Hmm.
Okay. So
Hmm.
what we do, if we take a look, for example, at the task 2 questions. So these are the current questions. You can get them on the website.
Okay. You know, this
Um,
IELTS-experts.com, right?
IELTS-Experts.com. Yeah.
Okay.
So if for example, if we take one at random, okay, describe an activity that made you feel tired. About 3 years ago, I was holding a party for a load of friends. I
Hmm.
decided I was going to cook pizza. I'm a really traditional guy and I love pizza. And now I'm going to talk about making 10 pizzas. I'm going to
Right.
talk about dancing at the party and they put on Coldplay. Going to talk about how my wife loves Coldplay, how we danced to Coldplay at our first for our first song at our wedding. Interesting
Hmm.
person that you've not met in person would like to know more about. So you're going to talk about your author, coming to J.K. Rowling, talk about Chris
Hmm.
Martin, the lead singer of Coldplay,
Hmm. Hmm.
a person who's always got interesting ideas or opinions. About 6 months ago, they opened up a new pizzeria that's not too far from where I live. And the owner of the restaurant is always trying to mix Japanese food with pizza.
Okay.
If you answer all of the questions using 5 W's and H, who, what, where, when, why, how, you're
Hmm.
always going to capture these. And you can also use your senses. So, who is the
Hmm.
person that opened the restaurant? Why did they
Hmm.
open? Why do you
Hmm.
like it? Where is
Hmm.
it? When do
Okay.
you go there? How do you get
Okay.
there? If you drive, why do you drive? If you catch a taxi, why do you catch a taxi?
Hmm.
A time you had a problem using a computer. About 6 months ago, they opened up a new restaurant that's not too far from where I live, and my wife was desperate to go.
Okay.
And now I'm going to talk about a problem booking online with this pizza restaurant.
Okay.
Okay. A beautiful city. Talk about your honeymoon to Venice. Talk about how you took your wife for this beautiful pizza. Do you see
Right.
it?
Yeah, yeah.
So the trick is then, whatever question they ask us, we can just come through and answer with the same sort of thing. I take my
Right.
wife for a picnic in this beautiful place. And
Mhm.
if you use the 5W and H, who do you go with? Where is it? Why do you go there? When do you go there? How do you get there? Senses. What can you see? What do you smell? What do you feel? You're going to be able to answer whatever question comes up very simply.
Mhm.
So the trick then is to use your idea bank and develop the language. So take it and make it better. Learn it and practice it. So you're putting stresses on words. I'm a real fan of pizza. I'm a real fan of pizza. And that'll
How
improve your fluency markers.
how important is to answer these five
These
questions?
questions here, not
Not
important.
not not these questions, but what you mentioned, these five.
The 5W and H.
Yes, five.
Again,
Yeah.
it's not essential to use them, but it
Okay.
will be able to provide you with a little spider diagram to develop
Okay.
your answer. So it
Okay.
doesn't matter what the topic is. So if, for example, something that changed your life in a good way, okay?
Mhm.
So what was it? How did it change your life? When did you do it? Why did you decide to do it?
Right.
Now, when you think you've only got to speak for between 1 and 2 minutes to get the better grades, 90 seconds to 2 minutes, once you start thinking about these things, who, what, where, when, why, how, your senses, you're
Mhm.
going to be talking for the 2 minutes.
I see. It reminds me behavior questions that are often asked in interviews.
Yeah,
So I
very
think
similar. I can't remember the last time I had an interview.
this.
But if
Yeah.
you
Okay.
take for this one, for example, describe a rule that's important to you in your work or school. You could talk, for example, about how you're not allowed to eat at your desk. You could talk about how you're not allowed to play music.
Mhm.
Okay. And it's very simple then just to use the idea bank to bring them in. You've got to give 3 weeks notice for your holiday. It was a real pain. About 6 months ago, my wife booked a last minute trip to Venice that she didn't tell me about. And now you can use that idea bank using your holiday. So that's
Okay.
the trick. Whatever comes up, the local pizzeria, whatever question comes up, you can use the bank of ideas that you've got. The
Right.
examiner's only going to ask you one of these questions. So if here, for example, you've talked about the local pizza restaurant, it's finished. They're not going to then say, okay, now I'd like you to describe a photograph that makes you happy.
Mhm.
So for this one, you could be saying, about 6 months ago, me and my wife went to a local pizza restaurant. And when we were there, okay, so who took the picture? Why did you take it? Where do you keep it? When was it taken? Did you post it on Instagram? Do you keep it in a frame next to your bed? Is it in a wallet?
So the examiner can ask you a few questions.
No, they're only going to ask you one task
One
two
question.
question. Because at
Okay.
the end of the day, the examiner wants to go home.
Right.
He's also got a schedule. He's got somebody waiting outside to come in who's getting nervous. So your 12 to 14 minutes will be 12 to 14 minutes. So you don't need to answer these questions, but you do have to speak about this. So for example, describe a photograph that makes you happy. You couldn't just start talking about your trip to Venice.
Mhm.
You'd have to be talking about a photograph that you took outside a pizzeria on your trip to Venice. Does that make sense?
Yeah, makes sense.
Okay. And that pretty much covers the idea banks. Any questions?
No, I think we just need to try, and that's it.
Okay, so a bit of practice and you'll get there.
Yeah.
Okay, well, you go and get your stuff done. I'll catch up with you next time. Good seeing you.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Take care.